In the year 1119, in the wake of the First Crusade, 9 knights stood before King Baldwin II of Jerusalem. They were led by Hugues de Payens, a man who saw a vacuum in the Holy Land. They called themselves the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. Their stated mission was simple: protect the flood of Christian pilgrims traveling the dangerous roads from Jaffa to Jerusalem. For 9 years, they lived in poverty. Allegedly so poor, they had to share a single horse, an image that became their official seal. But the gilded truth is that they weren't just soldiers. They were archaeologists of power. Stationed at the very site where Solomon's temple once stood, rumors began to swirl. Had they found the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, or something more dangerous, the secret of banking? By 1129, the order received the official blessing of the Church at the Council of Troyes. They became the darlings of Christendom. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux wrote their rule, and suddenly, land, sons, and gold were willed to the Templars from every corner of Europe. They became the untouchables, exempt from all taxes, answerable only to the Pope. With this immense wealth, they built the world's first global financial infrastructure. If you were a pilgrim, carrying gold was a death sentence. Instead, you gave your gold to the Templars in London or Paris. They gave you a coded letter of credit. When you arrived in Jerusalem months later, you handed over the paper and received your funds. The Templars didn't just invent modern banking, they invented the cashless society. By the 13th century, they owned the island of Cyprus, maintained a private fleet of ships, and were the primary creditors to the kings of Europe. By 1300, the Templars had a problem. They were too successful. They were the world's most powerful shadow state. King Philip IV of France was drowning in debt to the order after his failed wars with the English. He realized that as long as the Templars existed, he was a king in name only. He needed a way to liquidate his debt without paying a single florin. He decided to use the only weapon more powerful than a sword: slander. The trap was set. The poor fellow soldiers were about to become the victims of the most efficient corporate hit in human history. Up next, the architects of reason. As the Knights Templar were being burned at the stake, another group was quietly rising in the shadows of Europe's great cathedrals, the stonemasons. These were the Operative Masons, highly skilled craftsmen who held the secrets of geometry, light, and structural physics. They were the only commoners allowed to travel freely across borders, hence the name Freemasons. By the 17th century, the era of cathedral building was fading. To survive, the lodges began to admit men who didn't know how to cut stone, but knew how to cut deals. These were the Speculative Masons, aristocrats, scientists, and philosophers. They kept the rituals, the aprons, and the secret handshakes, but they traded the physical trowel for a symbolic one. They weren't building cathedrals of rock anymore. They were building a cathedral of the human mind. In 1717, 4 London lodges met at the Goose and Gridiron Ale House to form the first Grand Lodge. This was the gilded truth of Freemasonry. It became the world's first global secular lobby. At a time when speaking against the king or the church could get you hanged, the lodge was a safe space. Inside, a duke and a blacksmith were on the level, equals in the pursuit of knowledge. This was the Enlightenment engine. It allowed radical ideas, democracy, science, and secularism to cross-pollinate. The Masons didn't invent these ideas, but they provided the encrypted network that allowed them to spread without detection. Nowhere was the Masonic blueprint more evident than in the American Revolution. Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, and Paul Revere were all high-ranking Masons. The Boston Tea Party was allegedly planned in the Green Dragon Tavern, a lodge meeting place. Look at the streets of Washington, D.C. Look at the Great Seal on the dollar bill. The symbols aren't magic spells. They are architectural signatures. The gilded truth is that the United States was the first Masonic nation, built on the principle that the great architect of the universe, a non-denominational God, gave man the tools of reason to govern himself. But as the Masons became the establishment, a new, more aggressive secret society was being born in a university basement in Bavaria. One that didn't want to reform the world, it wanted to reboot it. Up next, the Bavarian firebrand. While the American colonies were declaring independence with Masonic ink, a different kind of revolution was brewing in the heart of Germany. Adam Weishaupt was a man of the Enlightenment who found himself trapped in a hyper-conservative, Jesuit-controlled university. He didn't just want to debate philosophy, he wanted to delete the status quo. On that May night, he and 4 students formed the Order of the Illuminati. Their original symbol wasn't a pyramid. It was the owl of Minerva, the Greek symbol of wisdom that sees in the dark. Their mission was radical: the total abolition of organized religion, the destruction of monarchies, and the illumination of the human mind through reason. They were the world's first intellectual insurgents. Weishaupt realized that a 5-man club couldn't topple a king. He needed a host body. He decided to infiltrate the Freemasons. The Masons were prestigious and wealthy, but Weishaupt found them too focused on charity and boring rituals. He sent his top recruiter, Baron von Kinga, to join Masonic lodges and cherry-pick the most ambitious anti-clerical members. The Illuminati became a secret society within a secret society. They offered higher degrees of knowledge that the regular Masons didn't have. They used an elaborate system of cell-based secrecy. Members didn't know the real names of their superiors. Weishaupt was Spartacus, Kinga was Philo. This was the blueprint for the modern intelligence agency. By 1784, they had 2,000 members, including some of the most powerful dukes and thinkers in Europe. The gilded truth of the Illuminati is that they were defeated by their own paperwork. In 1785, the Elector of Bavaria, Karl Theodor, became terrified of a shadow state operating in his borders. He banned all secret societies. The government launched a massive crackdown. They raided the homes of Illuminati leaders and found something far more damaging than magic. They found the blueprint. They found letters detailing how to manipulate public opinion, how to poison the minds of the youth against the church, and how to eventually seize power. The Bavarian government published these papers as a warning to the rest of the world. This backfired. Instead of scaring people, it provided the universal script for every conspiracy theory to follow. The Illuminati were dismantled in 9 years, but in their death, they achieved their goal. They became an immortal ghost, haunting the halls of power forever. Up next, the unified myth. History is messy, but the human mind craves a pattern. The gilded truth of the 18th century is that these 3 groups, the Templars, the Masons, and the Illuminati, had almost nothing to do with each other. But in the smoky salons of pre-revolutionary France, a great synthesis began. High-ranking Masons, looking to add ancient pedigree to their rituals, began claiming they were the secret heirs to the Knights Templar, who had fled to Scotland in 1307. They created Templar degrees to turn a trade guild into a knighthood. Simultaneously, the Catholic Church, reeling from the loss of its political grip, needed a villain. They didn't see 3 separate movements. They saw one Hydra. By 1797, the Abbé Barruel published a massive 4-volume conspiracy theory, claiming the French Revolution was a triple conspiracy. The Templars seeking revenge, the Masons providing the network, and the Illuminati providing the atheistic fuel. This is the ground zero of modern conspiracy, the Eye of Providence. To the public, it is the ultimate proof of an Illuminati takeover of the United States. But the gilded truth is a matter of graphic design, not global domination. In 1782, when the Great Seal was designed, the eye was a common Christian symbol for God's watchfulness. The Illuminati didn't use the eye in a triangle. They used an owl. The Masons didn't adopt the eye officially until after it appeared on the seal. We are looking at a coincidence of aesthetics. But because the Masons were so prominent in early America, the myth of a Masonic Illuminati architecture became baked into the foundation of the national identity. We see what we want to see. A secret plan where there is only a shared visual language of the 18th century. In the 20th century, the secret society moved from a curiosity to a weapon. Totalitarian regimes, from Hitler to Stalin, used the Masonic Illuminati myth to justify the liquidation of their internal enemies. Secrecy once a shield for the Enlightenment, became a target for the paranoid. The gilded truth is that the more transparent we became as a society, the more we became obsessed with what was happening in the dark rooms. By the time the internet arrived, the Templars, Masons, and Illuminati were no longer historical entities. They were archetypes. They were the they in every they are lying to you. The secret was no longer about a ritual. It was about the fear that we are no longer in control of our own destiny. Up next, the final truth. We look for the gilded truth in the wrong places. We look for hooded robes and stone temples, but power has moved. In the 21st century, the secret society has been replaced by the exclusive network. The Grand Lodge is now the invitingly retreat at Davos, the private equity boardroom, and the closed-source algorithm. The Templars controlled the flow of gold. The Masons controlled the flow of ideas. The Illuminati controlled the flow of revolution. Today, the new Illuminati are those who control the flow of data. The all-seeing eye is no longer a symbol on a dollar bill. It is the predictive model that knows your next purchase, your next vote, and your next fear before you do. Why do we still obsess over these groups? Because they represent the unsolvable mystery of power. We live in an era of total transparency, where our lives are broadcast and indexed. In this world, privacy is the ultimate luxury. The gilded truth is that secret societies are a human necessity. They provide a backchannel for the elite to speak without the filter of the public. Whether it's the Bohemian Grove or a private signal group, the secret isn't a magical spell, it is the bond of trust. By 2026, the architecture of power has become invisible. We don't need a shadow government to explain the world when the real government is managed by consulting firms and think tanks that operate with the same discretion as a 17th century lodge. The Masons didn't lose. They simply became the standard operating procedure for the modern world. The truth about the Templars, the Masons, and the Illuminati is that they are a mirror. When we are afraid of the future, we see the Illuminati. When we are searching for a sense of belonging, we see the Masons. When we seek a hidden heritage, we see the Templars. They aren't them. They are a reflection of our own desire to believe that someone, somewhere, is actually in control. The most terrifying gilded truth of all isn't that a secret group runs the world, it's that no one does. We are all just architects, trying to build something that lasts in a world made of shifting sand.